It had been a night like any other at the Sterling Heights Hotel, a modern oasis nestled in the heart of Santa Monica where glistening marble floors met the soft hum of whispered conversations. For years, the hotel's lobby had served as a stage for countless arrivals and departures. Weary travelers collapsing into plush chairs after long flights, bellhops maneuvering heavy luggage with practiced ease, and a steady stream of voices filling every corner of the space. This Friday night was no different. Towering palm trees swayed gently outside the grand entrance, their fronds dancing in the cool ocean breeze, while inside, a chandelier worth more than many a suburban home cast shimmering patterns onto the polished surfaces below. At the front desk, Rachel, a woman in her mid-30s with a face that bore both the marks of long, relentless days and a quiet determination, sat amid the controlled chaos. Her uniform, once crisp and immaculate, now showed subtle creases and signs of fatigue. The past 12 hours had been a relentless marathon, juggling demanding guests, last-minute room requests, and a steady stream of irate calls. Each beep from the reservation system, every insistence on a special upgrade or an error in the booking, chipped away at her already fragile reserve. Tonight, exhaustion and irritability wove together in the corners of her mind. She had learned over years of service that the lobby was not merely a reception area, it was a microcosm of humanity. Here lives intersected for fleeting moments, the frazzled business traveler, the hopeful tourist, and sometimes the unassuming stranger who would change everything. And tonight, as the revolving doors whooshed open to admit yet another guest, Rachel's routine was about to be irrevocably altered. A man walked into the lobby, his entrance unassuming at first. Clad in faded jeans, well-worn sneakers, and a hoodie that had clearly seen better days, he carried little more than a battered leather messenger bag slung casually over one shoulder. He did not drag along suitcases or cumbersome luggage. His hands were free, and his gait measured and steady. As he moved slowly through the lobby, he paused at the reception desk. His eyes swept over the room with a quiet curiosity, as if he were taking in every detail: the glimmer of the chandelier, the smooth flow of guests checking in, even the soft smiles exchanged between colleagues amid their busy shifts. Rachel watched him from behind the counter. In her tired state, her first impression was colored by skepticism. She had encountered plenty of late-night walk-ins, often individuals hoping to negotiate for a lower rate or seeking shelter in a cheap motel because they couldn't afford a proper room. His disheveled appearance and casual attire made him, in her eyes, a likely candidate for just such a scenario. She sighed inwardly and forced a polite smile as he approached. "Good evening," the man said, his voice calm and measured. There was something disarming about the tone, an assurance that belied his unremarkable exterior. "I'd like to book a room for the night, please." Rachel's fingers danced over the keyboard as she pulled up the guest list and room availability. The system, however, confirmed what she already suspected: the hotel was fully booked. "Unfortunately, we're fully booked tonight, sir," she replied briskly, her voice professional despite the underlying irritation. She even made a pointed gesture toward the bustling lobby, as if to say that every room had been carefully assigned. "Fully booked?" the man repeated, tilting his head slightly. His tone was even, neither challenging nor angry, but curious, as if he doubted the very notion of fully booked. For a moment, Rachel thought he might be testing her. She cleared her throat and reiterated, "That's correct. We've had a very busy day, and all our rooms are currently occupied." To emphasize her point, she gestured around the lobby, where guests mingled and checked in. "There's a motel just a few blocks away. They might have availability." Her words, though meant to be helpful, came out with an edge of condescension. The man's eyes flickered ever so briefly, and for a split second, Rachel believed she saw a small, enigmatic smile play at the corners of his lips, but it vanished as quickly as it appeared. He leaned slightly on the counter, meeting her gaze squarely. "No cancellations? No options at all?" he inquired softly, his voice still even. Rachel felt a flash of annoyance. "Sir, I've already explained that our rooms are reserved for guests with confirmed reservations. I suggest you try the motel down the street." His calm response made her temper flare even further. "Look, if you don't have a reservation and can't afford to stay here, perhaps you should just take my answer and leave," she said more sharply than intended. "I already mentioned there's a motel nearby. They might have something that suits your situation." Her eyes darted briefly over his hoodie and jeans, a silent judgment that he did not belong in the grandeur of Sterling Heights. The man straightened his posture and, without raising his voice further, said, "Thank you for your time." Instead of leaving immediately, he drifted toward the seating area in the lobby and settled into a corner chair that offered a clear view of the front desk. For the rest of the evening, as Rachel went about her duties, she couldn't help but notice his quiet presence. His eyes roamed the lobby occasionally, observing the bellhop's deft handling of luggage, the concierge's gentle way with demanding couples, and even her own strained expressions as she managed the constant influx of guests. Though she tried to dismiss it as mere curiosity, an uneasy feeling began to settle in her stomach. As the night wore on, the lobby gradually quieted. The constant chatter of arriving guests softened to a low murmur. Rachel, eager for the end of her shift, kept one eye on the clock and another on the mysterious man in the corner. His presence was strangely magnetic, a silent enigma amid the flurry of activity. At around 11 p.m., with most of the guests having found their rooms and the atmosphere in the lobby shifting to a subdued calm, the man rose from his chair. Rachel's heart skipped a beat. Perhaps now he would finally leave. With measured steps, he walked back to the front desk. The soft overhead lights caught the glint in his eyes as he approached again. "Excuse me," he said, his voice courteous but with an underlying firmness that made Rachel's pulse quicken. "I'm sorry to bother you again, but I couldn't help noticing that a few guests have just checked in. Are you absolutely sure there are no rooms available for me tonight?" Rachel's irritation bubbled over. "Sir, I've already told you. Our hotel is fully booked tonight. The rooms have been reserved by prior booking. There's nothing I can do," she snapped, crossing her arms and tapping impatiently at the keyboard. Her voice, louder than she had intended, betrayed the exhaustion of her long shift. He nodded slowly, his expression remaining impassive. "I see. And if I were to ask about a room for tomorrow night, would that be available?" His tone was casual, almost as if the question were inconsequential. Caught off guard by the shift in his inquiry, Rachel blinked. "Tomorrow?" she echoed uncertainly. After a moment of clicking through the reservation system, she replied, "Yes, we do have availability tomorrow." But then her frustration reasserted itself. "But that doesn't help you tonight," she muttered. A small smile curved the man's lips, a smile that, despite her irritation, held no malice. "No, it doesn't make a difference for tonight. I simply prefer to know my options." His calm manner, so disarming in its quiet strength, only deepened Rachel's growing sense of exasperation. "Look," she said, voice rising in exasperation, "if you can't take my answer, then please stop wasting both our time. Go to the motel I mentioned. I have a full shift and no more patience for this conversation." Her words echoed in the hushed lobby. The man nodded once more, his expression unchanged, and with a soft "understood," he returned to his corner seat. For the rest of her shift, Rachel tried hard to focus on her work, yet the image of his calm, assessing eyes haunted her thoughts. Who was he, and why was he so insistent on staying, even after being turned away? As the hours slipped by and the lobby's energy finally began to wane, Rachel's shift ended. She packed up her things with a mixture of relief and lingering irritation, eager to escape the day's challenges. In the back of her mind, she replayed the encounter over and over, trying to rationalize her own behavior. It was just one guest, she told herself, one unremarkable walk-in who had overstayed his welcome. Yet a small, nagging doubt persisted. Perhaps there was more to him than met the eye. The next morning, the Sterling Heights staff gathered in the conference room for their daily briefing, a routine meeting that usually involved updates on occupancy, reminders about service standards, and occasional pep talks to keep morale high. Rachel, still rubbing sleep from her eyes and nursing a lingering sense of discomfort from the previous night, slumped into a chair near the back. She scrolled through her phone, eager for the meeting to end so she could head home and decompress from the long hours. As the minutes passed, however, an unusual buzz began to build in the room. The senior staff exchanged curious glances, and whispers of a special announcement filled the air. Even the seasoned employees, who prided themselves on their professionalism, seemed unusually animated. The conference room door swung open with measured confidence, and in stepped Mr. Calloway, the general manager, an affable man known for his calm authority, and, unexpectedly, a sharply dressed companion. The newcomer exuded an air of refinement that was in stark contrast to the disheveled figure from the previous night. His tailored suit, perfectly pressed and immaculate, drew immediate attention. "Good morning, everyone," Mr. Calloway began, his voice cheerful yet measured. "I hope you're all ready for an exciting update. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing a very special guest who has taken an extraordinary interest in the operation of our hotel." A hush fell over the room. Rachel's heart pounded as she realized that the guest Calloway was about to introduce was none other than the mysterious man from last night. Her stomach twisted with a mix of dread and disbelief. Had she erred in her judgment? Was this man somehow connected to the hotel's future? With a broad smile, Mr. Calloway announced, "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Elon Musk." A stunned silence followed as every eye in the room turned to the man now standing beside Calloway. Gone was the faded hoodie and worn jeans. In their place was the air of a decisive entrepreneur, a man whose reputation had transcended industries and headlines. Elon Musk, an unlikely figure to be associated with a humble Santa Monica hotel, now presided over the room as its new owner. Rachel felt her face flush with shame and disbelief. Just last night she had dismissed him as a troublesome walk-in unworthy of the Sterling Heights elegance. Now she realized with mounting horror that she had unwittingly rebuffed the very man who would soon transform the establishment into something altogether extraordinary. The meeting room filled with murmurs and exchanged glances as Elon stepped forward, his gaze calm yet piercing. "I've always believed that the true heart of any business is its people," Elon began, his voice measured and thoughtful. "Last night I had the opportunity to observe the operations of this hotel, not as an outsider, but as someone who cares deeply about the details that make a guest's experience truly memorable." His eyes swept the room, lingering on the bustling staff, the polished decor, and then, unmistakably, on Rachel. "I witnessed both remarkable teamwork and, admittedly, moments where attention to detail and kindness could have been better served." A heavy silence fell over the staff. Though Elon did not mention names directly, his steady gaze and deliberate pause left no doubt he was referring to the encounter at the front desk. He continued, "In hospitality, every gesture counts. A smile, a kind word, or even a moment of understanding can transform an ordinary stay into an unforgettable experience. Tonight, I want to make it clear that we are all responsible for ensuring that every guest feels valued." As the room absorbed his words, Rachel sat frozen, her mind awash with regret and self-reflection. The meeting broke into polite applause, and as the staff dispersed, many of them whispered excitedly about the new changes and the fresh vision Elon Musk was promising to bring. Yet, for Rachel, the impact was deeply personal, a moment of reckoning that would forever change how she viewed her role. Later that morning, after the meeting had ended and the staff began returning to their duties, Rachel found herself alone in a quiet corner of the conference room. Before she could collect her thoughts, she sensed someone approaching. Looking up, she saw Elon standing a few feet away, his expression gentle and his eyes intent. "Rachel, isn't it?" he asked softly, his tone warm and unassuming. For a moment, time seemed to slow as she struggled to find her voice. "Yes, sir," she managed in a barely audible whisper, her heart pounding in her chest. Elon offered her a small, genuine smile that carried no trace of scorn. "I know yesterday was a long, challenging night for you," he said kindly. "Working front line is never easy, especially when the pace is overwhelming. But please understand, every interaction you have here matters, both to the guests and to the future of this hotel." Tears prickled Rachel's eyes as she absorbed his words. I'm so sorry," she stammered. "I didn't mean to come off so harsh. I was exhausted and Her voice trailed off as she struggled with the weight of her regret. Elon gently held up a hand. "There's no need to apologize. We all have moments when stress clouds our judgment. What matters is that you learn from them. Every day, each of us has the chance to grow, to be better. Just remember, kindness costs nothing, but its rewards can be life-changing." His words sank into her like a balm. In that quiet moment, Rachel felt a spark of determination awaken within her. "Thank you, Mr. Musk," she said softly, her voice steadier now. "I promise I'll do better. I want to be the best that I can be, for the guests and for myself." Elon nodded appreciatively, his gaze warm. "I believe you will. Our guests deserve nothing less, and I believe in every person here. Now, go out there and show the world what Sterling Heights is truly about." As he turned and left the room, Rachel felt the sting of embarrassment fade, replaced by a deep resolve. In that brief encounter, a lesson had been imparted, one that would resonate with her long after the day was over. In the days and weeks that followed, the Sterling Heights Hotel transformed in subtle yet significant ways. Under Elon Musk's new ownership, the management instituted a series of changes that were designed not only to elevate the guest experience, but also to nurture the talents and dedication of the hotel staff. Training sessions, workshops on customer service, and team-building activities became part of the daily routine. For many, it was a chance to start afresh, and for Rachel, it was an opportunity to redeem herself. Rachel began each shift with renewed energy. She greeted every guest with a genuine smile, her voice warm and attentive. Even when the workload was heavy, she took moments to pause, to appreciate the little details. A kind word from a guest, the appreciative nod of a colleague, or the way a simple thank you could brighten someone's day. Slowly, the negativity of the previous night faded into the background, replaced by a growing sense of pride in her work. The changes weren't dramatic overnight, but the ripple effects were evident in every interaction. One evening, as dusk fell over Santa Monica and the hotel's lobby lit up with soft ambient lighting, Rachel found herself helping a tired traveler with a broken suitcase zipper. With patience and empathy, she reassured him and even offered a few practical tips on how to fix it. The traveler, touched by her kindness, commented, "You've got a real gift, miss. Not many people care as much as you do." That small moment reaffirmed to Rachel that every act of kindness, no matter how seemingly insignificant, made a difference. Meanwhile, the mysterious figure from the previous night had become a quiet legend among the staff. Rumors swirled about his true identity and his influence on the hotel's future. Some speculated that he was a reclusive investor. Others whispered that he had ties to powerful tech moguls. For Rachel, the mystery was both humbling and inspiring, a reminder that appearances can be deceiving and that one must never judge a person solely by the way they dress or the first impression they create. The hotel's transformation soon became apparent to its guests as well. Reviews began to pour in, praising not only the luxurious decor and impeccable service, but also the warmth and genuine care of the staff. The hotel's occupancy soared, and Sterling Heights became a favorite destination for travelers seeking an experience that went beyond the ordinary. And at the heart of it all was Rachel, a woman who had learned that true excellence was rooted in empathy and attention to detail. One particularly busy afternoon, as Rachel balanced check-ins with managing unexpected guest requests, she caught sight of a familiar face in the lobby, a young bellhop struggling with a heavy luggage cart. Without hesitation, she rushed over to assist him, offering both a steadying hand and a few encouraging words. The bellhop's face lit up with relief, and for a moment, Rachel felt as if all her previous missteps were forgiven by the simple act of kindness. That day, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the hotel's neon sign flickered to life, Rachel realized that she had truly changed, not just for the better in her job performance, but in her very outlook on life. The weight of past errors, the sting of harsh words, and the long hours of stress had all given way to a new sense of purpose. Every guest, every interaction was an opportunity to make someone's day just a little bit brighter. Word of the hotel's transformation spread quickly, and soon Sterling Heights was no longer just a well-regarded hotel in Santa Monica. It was a symbol of renewal, of second chances, and of the extraordinary potential hidden in everyday moments. The story of the mysterious man who had first walked in as a presumed troublemaker and who, by the next morning, turned out to be none other than Elon Musk, became a favorite tale among the staff. His unexpected intervention had served as a catalyst for change, reminding everyone that every person, regardless of appearance or circumstance, carried the power to transform not only their own lives, but also the lives of those around them. For Rachel, the lesson was indelible. Late one evening, after her shift had ended and the lobby had quieted to a gentle hum, she found herself alone at the front desk, reflecting on the whirlwind of recent events. In the polished reflection of the darkened lobby windows, she saw not just her tired eyes, but a glimmer of determination that she had never known before. The memory of Elon's words, "Kindness costs nothing," echoed in her mind like a soft refrain. She promised herself that from that day forward, every action, every smile, and every patient word would be her personal legacy, a quiet revolution in the fast-paced world of hospitality. Over time, Rachel's transformation began to inspire others. New staff members arrived and found themselves welcomed not only by the sleek decor of Sterling Heights, but by the genuine warmth of a team united by shared values. The once overlooked details, the gentle greeting, the extra helping hand, the respectful nod to every guest's individual needs, became the hallmarks of a hotel that was evolving into something more than a place to stay. It was a community. Meanwhile, Elon Musk, whose reputation had always been shrouded in bold visions and disruptive innovations, quietly observed the changes from behind the scenes. On weekends, he would stroll through the lobby unannounced, sometimes chatting briefly with the concierge or the bellhops, his presence a subtle reminder that he was not a distant corporate overlord, but a person deeply invested in the day-to-day life of the hotel. His occasional visits became cherished moments for the staff, who found in his quiet encouragement a validation of their efforts. In one such encounter, Rachel found herself waiting in the lobby for a quick break. As fate would have it, Elon appeared once again, casually leaning against one of the tall windows. His eyes met hers, and without a word, he offered a slight nod of encouragement. That simple gesture, a silent thank you, was enough to lift her spirits immeasurably. In that moment, she understood that every hardship, every moment of frustration, was a stepping stone toward growth. Weeks turned into months, and the legend of that fateful night, of the walk-in man who turned out to be Elon Musk, became a cherished story in Santa Monica. Sterling Heights thrived under its new management, not merely because of technological upgrades or flashy marketing campaigns, but because of the fundamental change in culture. Every employee, from the front desk receptionist to the cleaning staff, embraced the idea that true hospitality was measured by empathy, attention, and a genuine desire to connect with people. For Rachel, the transformation was personal and profound. The harsh lessons of one challenging night had given way to a deep-seated commitment to excellence. She began to recall the countless small moments throughout her career, the grateful smiles of guests, the heartfelt thanks from a weary traveler, and saw them as evidence that every act of kindness could ripple outwards in ways she had never imagined. In quiet moments between shifts, Rachel often reflected on her journey. She remembered the nervous tension of that first encounter, the sting of having dismissed a guest she later learned was far more than he appeared, and the overwhelming shock of discovering that he now owned the very hotel where she had once made a mistake. The realization that someone she had judged so harshly had, in fact, become a beacon for change filled her with both remorse and gratitude. Remorse for the missteps of the past, and gratitude for the opportunity to learn and grow. Her colleagues began to notice the difference in her demeanor as well. Where once she had been known for her brisk, sometimes curt responses, now she was recognized for her patience, her willingness to listen, and the genuine care she exhibited toward every guest. New hires looked to her as a mentor, and even the most seasoned staff members found themselves inspired by her example. The change was not without its challenges. On particularly busy nights, when the demands of the job threatened to overwhelm even the most committed employees, Rachel would pause for a brief moment, closing her eyes and taking a deep breath, and remember Elon's words. In those moments, the weight of responsibility transformed into a quiet strength. She reminded herself that every guest deserved kindness, that every moment offered a chance to redeem oneself, and that even small gestures could have a lasting impact. As Sterling Heights continued to build its reputation as a haven of hospitality in Santa Monica, the legacy of that transformative encounter began to spread beyond the hotel walls. Local media picked up the story of the mysterious walk-in who had, against all odds, become the new owner. A story that resonated deeply with an audience hungry for tales of redemption, unexpected twists, and the transformative power of kindness. Social media buzzed with discussions about leadership, second chances, and the importance of empathy in the service industry. In interviews, employees praised the management's focus on uplifting every member of the team. "We're not just a hotel," one longtime bellhop remarked. "We're a family, and every family member matters." Rachel herself was invited to share her story at industry conferences, where she spoke candidly about the lessons she'd learned and the changes she'd witnessed. "Hospitality isn't just about luxury or convenience," she said in one interview. "It's about human connection. We have the power to brighten someone's day with just a smile, a kind word, or a moment of genuine care." Elon Musk, though typically a figure associated with grand innovations in technology and space, maintained his quiet involvement with Sterling Heights. On a crisp morning in Santa Monica, he surprised the staff by hosting a breakfast meeting in the hotel's elegant dining hall. There, over plates of freshly baked pastries and steaming coffee, he listened to the stories of the employees, stories of both hardship and triumph, and shared his vision for the future. His presence, modest and sincere, reaffirmed that even those who seem larger than life remain grounded when it comes to caring for people. For Rachel, that breakfast meeting was a turning point, a reaffirmation of the idea that every mistake was an opportunity to learn and every moment held the potential for renewal. She recalled how on that cool morning, Elon had leaned over to her and said, "Your smile can change the world, Rachel. Never underestimate the power of a kind word." Those words, spoken softly amid the clinking of cutlery and gentle laughter, would remain with her for years to come. In the years that followed, Sterling Heights Hotel not only flourished as a destination for travelers seeking a blend of luxury and heartfelt service, but also became a symbol of the transformative power of human connection. The story of the night when a seemingly unremarkable man was sent packing only to return as the new owner became a favorite tale among guests and employees alike. It served as a powerful reminder that first impressions can be deceptive, that every person carries an untold story, and that even the smallest act of kindness can create ripples that change lives. For Rachel, the journey was personal. The memory of that difficult night, the sting of her own words, and the subsequent revelation of the man's true identity had reshaped her understanding of her role. She went on to become a mentor to new staff, a trusted friend to her colleagues, and, most importantly, a living example of how one can always strive to be better. The lesson she had learned was simple, yet profound. Kindness, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, was the key to unlocking a brighter future for everyone. And so, as the years passed and Sterling Heights continued to welcome guests from near and far, the hotel's success was not measured solely by its luxurious facade or its impressive amenities, but by the genuine warmth that emanated from every interaction. The legacy of that unforgettable encounter endured as a quiet testament to the fact that true leadership and success are built not on arrogance or indifference, but on empathy, accountability, and the courage to grow. In a modest office behind the front desk, where framed photos of smiling guests and heartfelt thank you notes adorned the walls, Rachel often paused to reflect on her journey. There, amidst the everyday bustle of check-ins and reservations, she kept a small handwritten note that read, "Kindness costs nothing." It was a reminder of a lesson learned on a fateful night, a lesson imparted by a man who had come in looking like just another walk-in, only to reveal himself as a visionary leader with a soft spot for the human heart. Whenever she felt the weight of a long shift or the sting of a difficult interaction, Rachel would recite those words quietly to herself, feeling her spirit lift. She had come to understand that every person who walked through the doors of Sterling Heights was not just a guest, but a reminder of the incredible capacity for change that lay within every human encounter. And so, the story lived on. Through the smiles of grateful travelers, through the whispered conversations of staff sharing memories of that transformative day, and through the quiet, steady hum of the hotel that continued to stand as a beacon of hope and renewal on the streets of Santa Monica. For those who heard the story, the moral was clear: never underestimate the power of kindness, and always remember that every moment is an opportunity to start anew. In a world that sometimes seemed cold and indifferent, the legacy of Sterling Heights and the lessons learned by Rachel offered a gentle, unwavering reminder that a single act of care can indeed change the world.